fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this.
Robert.
30 years of my career. Y'all trying to kill me. You killing me, man.
No, we're gonna
This
let
is
the
not
camera keep
true.
rolling.
This is not, doesn't even make sense. Why would I hold all these women?
Nobody ever uses the whole quote. Acton was talking about the Inquisition at the time, which was when the Catholic Church prosecuted people for heresy, apostasy, blasphemy, etc. Basically, for not being Catholics or offending Catholics in some way. This procedure resulted in a lot of torture and murder. It wasn't gender specific, except for one category: witchcraft. Men ran, and still run, the Catholic Church. So most of these sessions consisted of a stressed out woman being examined by a round table of stank-ass dudes in robes. Some of the torture is overblown and exaggerated, while other stories definitely happened. According to researchers at UC Berkeley, interrogators weren't using that torture recklessly. They sprinkle a little bit of torture every few weeks while the subject was locked up, malnourished, and desperate for release. They knew torture didn't work by itself, so they mixed it in with other witness accounts to get the truth. It wasn't a crime of passion. It was part of a normal process to them. Abuse was just protocol. I could go on, but y'all know what this metaphor is leading to by now. Most of this discussion censors women, but men have been victimized too. Let's talk about R. Kelly. For people in every generation, something happened in your brain when I said that name, right? I haven't even said it out loud in quite a while. Been treating this man like Voldemort. There's two reasons why that happened in your brain. One is that R. Kelly is one of the greatest R&B artists and songwriters of all time. And the other is that he's a pedophilic serial abuser. I'm only gonna elaborate on one person in this story to serve as an example of the wide divide between what fans see and what the courts see. I happen to be a massive R. Kelly fan before all this went down, so I chose him to serve as that example after being forced to take all his music off my playlist forever. Robert Kelly is a convicted felon and former R&B artist, songwriter, and producer. He allegedly raped a 14-year-old girl on tape in the 90s, raped Aaliyah at 15, and married her at 15.
Kelly also found time to write and produce top 10 hits for his teenage bride, Aaliyah.
Then went on to abuse several women at least 15 to 20 years younger than him, some of them minors, while keeping them in a large house to use as he pleased. His original charges included producing and receiving child pornography and enticing minors to engage in criminal sexual activity. He was accused of engaging in sex acts with 5 minors and recording some of it on tape. The indictment also charged Kelly with conspiring to intimidate victims and conceal evidence in an effort to obstruct law enforcement. After multiple trials that got parodied across the pop culture world, that all culminated in a guilty verdict in 2022 for
child pornography and enticement of minors for sex.
Being the world's most prolific R&B talent didn't save him from doing time and tearing his legacy down completely. I'm sure some of y'all have aunts and uncles and parents that don't give a f***. They're not gonna stop playing R. Kelly's music at the cookout. I was talking to my girlfriend about this, and she mentioned something that I thought was particularly insightful. Black people don't take these situations seriously until the legal ramifications get locked in. Even when there's charges filed, we come up with the wildest conspiracy theories to excuse obvious injustices. There's probably people watching this who defended R. Kelly all the way up until the FBI started talking about tapes.
A key witness who allegedly appears in 3 sex tapes with R. Kelly is now cooperating with investigators in the musician's sex crimes case.
Our attachment to talented strangers overrides our ability to be serious. White people do it too, but, talking about us right now. Moving on. What happens in your mind when I say Diddy? What about Trey Songz, Chris Brown, Bill Cosby, Matt Lauer, Danny Masterson, Harvey Weinstein, Neil Gaiman, or Dr. Dre? I could include non-entertainers pretty easily, but these names help drive the point home due to their fame. Depending on who you are, how you were raised, and what you watched or listened to, you had a reaction to at least a couple of these names. Almost all of them are celebrated for their accomplishments in music, film, books, or a combination of the three. All of them have also been either accused of or convicted of heinous abuse of men and women. Common denominators across the list are money and power, plus the fame that comes with it. I'm not here to rattle off the list of crimes in detail, though. We're here to talk about what makes a man abuse people who have less influence than they do. What makes men like this tick? Why did at least one of those names make some of y'all run to the comments and claim that they're innocent? It goes without saying that everything that follows is my opinion. Take it as you see fit. Most of the people I named earlier are more than kinda good at their craft. We can acknowledge that without excusing their crimes. Harvey Weinstein produced some of the greatest movies ever. Bill Cosby provided the blueprint for an entire generation of sitcoms. Chris Brown is easily one of the greatest pop stars of all time. Dr. Dre is a legendary producer and businessman. Same applies to the more recent offenders to make this list. We joke about Diddy because he's objectively hilarious, but he brought us Jodeci and never stopped creating gold out of shiny street rocks over and over again. He had as many misses as he did hits, but those hits were astronomical. Hold up though. That's the problem, right there. As I listed off those accomplishments, did you start getting nostalgic? Some of the fondness for Weinstein's movies or Chris Brown's songs came back, didn't it? Remember how it felt the first time you ever watched the Mo Money, Mo Problems video? The first time you watched the Space Jam intro and heard I Believe I Can Fly? Entertainment has a unique ability to make you invest emotionally into the artist in a way that outlives the person. I've always been careful to make a distinction between loving the art and loving the artist, though. I don't love anyone I don't know personally. That's why that list of names made some of y'all mad, and you need to move past it. I gave you that list of career highlights for another reason, though. This is what they wanted, to be talked about when they aren't in the room. The primary common denominator across this list is a need for recognition. They all had it, and that need doesn't turn off once you succeed. When your primary objective is to be successful, to be recognized, it's easy to see everyone as a tool to be used to further your desires. I do mean everyone, not just women. People give you free once you become successful at something. If you have access to an audience and someone wants to get to that audience, they'll give you free merchandise, flights, event tickets. This part isn't an opinion. I've turned down thousands of dollars in sponsorship offers already, and I'm not even famous yet. They'll give you love and emotional attachment too. I know y'all have seen people saying, I love you. In celebs' comment sections. It's happened to me too. Yes, these nerdy ass YouTube videos have moved women and men to tell me they love me. I love you too, by the way. These celebs are on a level of fame that's difficult to obtain these days, with social media diluting most people's access to a focused, dedicated fan base. There's major exceptions, of course, but we can't all be Zendaya or Timothy Chalamet. There's only so many seats at the fame table, and everyone's vying to get one. Due to the nature of supply and demand, fame will naturally make you feel more desired and entitled to people's attention and resources. The concept of working hard for something or earning access to it will gradually become more foreign to you, especially if you became famous at a very young age. Entitlement is dangerous. Even non-famous men struggle with this concept. Not every woman you find attractive is flirting with you just because they gave you a compliment or smiled in your direction. Just because they flirt with you, it doesn't mean they want you or anyone else sexually. Just because they want you sexually right now, it doesn't mean they can't change their minds. Acknowledging the difference between these scenarios may seem like common sense to me, but apparently it's very difficult for these powerful men. I'm not even going to give them a pass by infantilizing them either. There's really no excuse for it.
Stop it. Get some help.
However, if we truly want to get to the bottom of why men become serial abusers, we have to resist the urge to label them monsters and keep it pushing. That's why we had at least 346 school shootings last year, mostly by young men. These abusers are not monsters. They're human beings who actively decided to cross a line society has generally agreed not to cross many, many times. Like, they double dutch over that shit. The only way you'd ever choose to violate that many people, that many times, is if you didn't fear retribution or genuinely didn't think your actions were wrong. We need to consider both possibilities and look beyond patriarchy to get to the root of this. The victims vary in all these cases. Some were fans or collaborators of the musical artists. Some were significant others. Some were random young women sucked into the orbit of a much more powerful figure, like Jeffrey Epstein's victims. In Diddy's case, there were allegedly men and women trafficked into sex parties. Regardless of their origin or identity, almost all of them faced widespread ridicule after suing or exposing their abusers. 60 women have come out against Cosby, and some people still claim they're all gold diggers or that there's a conspiracy by a major network to take down America's dad. The mountain of obstacles facing someone who tries to call out a famous abuser can't be overstated. We've had the Violence Against Women Act on the books since 1994, and it was reauthorized with funding in 2022. You'd think that would make a massive dent in the occurrence of these offenses, but nah. According to the CDC, in late 2022, 3 in 10 women and 1 in 10 men experienced rape, physical violence, and/or stalking by a partner, rolling up to 23 people per minute, or 12 million annually. Okay, this last part is where I make my case for what truly causes this trend in violence from some of entertainment's biggest stars. Generalizations are easy. Most of the internet is full of them. I know I can't be the only one tired of seeing the gender wars content on my timeline. I'm not here to claim I have all the answers, but I noticed a combination of factors in most of the cases of abuse we've seen in the media. The insecurity that drives a man to be great at something in the first place, like truly great. A power imbalance between perpetrator and victim. A sense of entitlement that makes the abuser think they deserve access to someone's body. And the element that gets the least coverage, for whatever reason, a fundamental disrespect for women. I think this is the biggest factor of all of them, because nothing else explains why a man would allow his urges and desires to allow him to violate another person's bodily autonomy. I have a question for all the men watching this who think they've never made a woman feel uncomfortable or unsafe. Have you asked them? Or are you so confident in your mental image of yourself as a nice guy that you can't even consider a situation where you'd cross that line? I'm not saying you've done anything, but I'd argue that most of the celebs we're talking about here think they're nice guys too. No one's the villain in their own story. I'd encourage everyone to believe victims while pursuing corroborating evidence. Those two things aren't mutually exclusive. Be an ally to those who finally built up the courage to tell their story. Even if it happened years ago, try empathy before cynicism. And above all, let go of your celeb worship. You're embarrassing yourselves. As always, I really appreciate y'all watching. It means a lot to me and the whole team. Check out our series Deep Dives. It's a longer form version of what you just watched. And we talk about social content and things that matter to me or the Black community at large. It's deeper than just the Black community, but I am that. Click this box over here for our Patreon to support us a little bit more. Follow us on Instagram if you feel like doing that. All right, let me get out of here.